it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets, he won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. D-Y-S-L-E-X-I-A, he could anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets, he won't give up, no, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.
Hello, good evening, everyone. How has your day been? It's been a beautiful Sunday here in the city of Abuja. And for those of us joining from different parts of the world, it's my pleasure to welcome you to episode 44 of Finding Help with Special Needs. And today's topic is life insurance for children with special needs. I am sure that's a topic that a lot of us really want to learn something about. I truly want to learn something about it. And we have two beautiful guests with us today that will be shedding light on the topic of life insurance for children with special needs. I have questions, and I'm sure we all have questions. But before we get into that, I want to say a big welcome to everyone. Welcome, Vicky Wilson Woku, Tizet Joanne, Blessing Gabby, thank you so much. Sunday Precious, for everyone that has joined in on our YouTube channel, on my Facebook page, on Cadet Academy website. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. Looking forward to be with you guys to learn, relate, and unlearn with you. And for the past few weeks, we'll be talking about issues that relate. Every week on Finding Up with Special Needs, actually, we talk about issues that relate with children with special needs. But last week, we talked about estate management and planning for children with special needs. And some topics came up like the difference between estate management and the will. And that led us to today's topic that we're talking about life insurance for children with special needs. Should the children be insured to the parents purchase a life insurance? We'll be learning more about, insurance because we have a professional and another parent in-house as our guest today will be telling us about life insurance when it has to do with children with special needs or for their parents. What would the life insurance be used for? Why do we need it? It's something that we need in Nigeria, in spite of the world where we think, oh, God forbid, it's not going to happen to me. Or should we just leave the children just to be the way they are? So I want to welcome everyone once again. Mr. O'Neill, I see you. Thank you for joining. Samuel Chikodi, thank you, everyone. Good evening. So I'd like to welcome our guests right away. Before I welcome them, I want to say thank you to Mr. Alex for always being here to ensure that Finding Up with Special Needs is inclusive for our individuals who are deaf, our hearing impairment or speech impairment. So thank you so much, Mr. Alex, for being a part of this every week. Thank you so much. So I'm going to invite our guest real quick. I'm bringing in the C ladies first. So I'm going to bring in Damilola first, and then I'll bring in. Hello, Damilola. Let's have Dr. Harry join us also. Hello, Dr. Harry. Good to see you. Good to have you. Good evening. Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you actually.
Good evening, Damilola.
Thank you. Good evening. Everyone is excited to have you, and we want you to please introduce yourselves and what you do. I'm not partial. I don't think I'm partial, but I believe ladies She always go first. So Damilola will go first by introducing herself and
Okay.
talk a little bit about herself and what she's doing. We all know she's a special needs mom. She'll tell us what she's doing, and then Dr. Heat will tell us about himself. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's so amazing to be here. My name is Daniela Arukudari. I'm a mom with two boys. I'm a lawyer, and I've been a lawyer in financial services for so long. So, coming into this space with special needs and having a child on the spectrum, autism spectrum to be precise, has got me a bit more interested in how to plan in financially. And so, I'm so happy to have this conversation with you guys. And yeah, take it from there.
Thank you for joining us. I know I always say to our guests that I feel it's such an honor or a privilege for you to spend your evenings with us. Most people want to rest on Sunday evening, but every of our guests take it upon themselves to come here to shed light on every issue of specialists. So I do not take this for granted. I want to say thank you to both of you for choosing to be with us this evening. Over to you, Dr. Harry.
Thank you, Lola. Like you already said, my name is Dr. Henry Ationu. I have background. My background is in insurance and banking. Over 30 years experience in both insurance and banking, but insurance was my first love. I'm currently involved in financial services, finance and investment specifically, where we offer spectrum of financial services to the micro, small, and medium enterprises. In addition, I'm a trustee of two NGOs that meet the needs of the special needs. The Rise Foundation, Rise for Rehabilitation, Inclusion, Support and Empowerment Foundation, and also the Friends of
Fantastic.
People with special needs. They are both NGOs that cater for the people with special needs. I'm glad to be here today. Thank you.
Wow. So we have our in-house. So I was right when I said we have in-house people because as a mom with a child with special needs, we also have Dr. Ationu, who is a member of a trustee of two trustees that deals with issues of special needs. Thank you so much. So we're going to be free. I'm going to bear it as it is without hiding anything. We're not promoting any organization. Just want to talk about issues that relate to special needs and enlighten parents, enlighten service providers so that we can look out for the best of these children. So today, like we know, our topic is life insurance for children with special needs. After I put out that topic, I personally had questions. And knowing the kind of country we are, Nigeria, most time when we talk about insurance, life insurance, wills or estate management, people are like, God forbid, it's not going to happen. How can you say such a thing? It's like a taboo to talk about such things. But what I realized is that if we don't plan, I'll talk about these things. At the end of the day, the things are, the result after that, it's more like, oh, I wish I knew, I wish I could have done better. Several people have done that, but and I've said whatever I know or hear about, and I know will benefit individuals with special needs and their parents. We keep talking about it, so it becomes a norm, and it's not something that we are like, oh, what is that all about? I wish I knew, and that's why we're having today's topic. I think I'm going to start with you, Dr. Heat, and I like the fact that we're going to call you Dr. Heat. I think it's the first two names, your first name and your last name, H-E and A-T, right? Am I correct? I guessed.
Correct.
Is
Correct.
that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's easy. It's easier to call that. So, Dr. Heat, I want you to please explain the concept of life insurance to us. And when you do that, please break it down because people are here. Usually, we call this platform a learning platform where you learn everything that has to do with special needs. And today, our topic is life insurance. And I was going to put and children with special needs because I am aware that sometimes parents purchase life insurance for themselves so that when they're gone, it can be beneficial to the children. And sometimes they purchase the life insurance for the children so that when they're gone and where the children should live before them, the insurance could be used for other kids, especially for other bodies or facilities that provide help. But I needed to share light on it with respect to special needs so that everyone on this platform understand the concept of life insurance because the truth is that it's quite foreign to us in this part of the world. And even if it's not, we all believe it's for people who are wealthy, who can afford it because they have money. So we need to please open up what life insurance is all about and how it relates to individuals with special needs, how we can benefit or otherwise.
Okay, I think let me start from the first principle first. The first principle is to explain the entire concept of insurance first and foremost. Insurance as a concept is a pool of risk. Okay, it works in a way that people with similar interest or similar exposure or similar risk will come together and contribute small amount of money with the hope that in the medium to long term, the unfortunate few will be compensated from the contributions of the fortunate many. That is the first principle of insurance. That's the foundation of insurance. And there are various types of insurance. You have motor, you have fire, you have marine, you have personal accident, and of course we have life. And today's topic deals with life. Most of us are used to motor insurance because of the compulsory nature of it. Life insurance also works with the same principle of insurance. The form of insurance whereby the parties involved, basically two extreme parties, the insurance company that provides the cover and the person, the insured or policy holder that taking out the insurance, agrees that if I pay a certain amount of money called premium, the insurance company will pay me an agreed amount of money called death benefit on death. So that person basically pays benefit on death of the insured person, while the insured person will be paying a premium while he or she is alive, or whoever takes the policy for the insured life will be paying a small amount of premium on an incremental basis. That could be monthly, it could be quarterly, it could be half yearly, it could be yearly. There are different types of life policies, but the basic types are what we call term policy and whole life policy or permanent policy. Term policy, like the name states, is a policy for a term for a specific period of time. After that time elapses, the policy is ceasing to exist. So you can take a term policy for say 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or 30 years term. An insurance company will tell you based on your age at the time of you wanting to take the contract, and also based on your gender, male or female, because the argument is that the female they have higher life expectancy than the male. So typically the rate of applied for the premium is usually smaller for female compared to male. So based on your gender, based on your age, and other lifestyle, the insurance company will determine the amount of premium you are going to be paying for a given amount of cover that you are choosing. And you agree on that upfront that I want maybe say a million naira policy to be payable to me in 10 years. And then it's okay, for this you'll be paying X amount of money every year or every month towards it. So the benefit is good. The premium rate can also be fixed or it could be varied. If it's varied, that means each year the company will tell you, okay, you pay this, each year you pay this for the duration of the term. Meanwhile, for whole life policy, it means the policy is going to run throughout the whole life. That's why it's called whole life, throughout life. Okay? Which means you can receive the benefit at any point in time when death occurs. But typically, premium payment can stop at say age 65. You can say, okay, you can stop paying premium at that age. But you pay some amount of money each year as a premium throughout the duration of your whole life. And there are different parties to a life policy. You have the insurance company that carries the risk itself. You have the policy owner or policy holder, the person that takes out the policy. And you have the insured. The insured is the person on whose life the policy is taking. So the policy owner or policy holder might not necessarily be the life insured. Okay? My employer, for example, can be the policy owner that pays for life cover of my life. They have the beneficiaries of the life policy. The beneficiary could be my dependents, okay, could be my children, my loved ones, it could be third party, anybody that I name that want to benefit from the insurance policy. And in between this, you have the intermediaries or the brokers that are more like advisors to the public. They stand as intermediary between the policy owner or the insured and the insurance company. They be the one to advise you on the various types of policies available, on the options you have, on the premiums you can pay, etc. The next thing you might need to know about life policy is that there are various permutations that a company will follow in determining the amount of premium you are to pay and the level of cover that they will give to you. And this process is called underwriting. So underwriting is simply a process that insurance companies follow to determine whether or not to accept a life for insurance, and if so, at what terms and conditions will this cover be granted to the person? Okay. Once they determine that, based on the criteria I said earlier, they look at the lifestyle of the person, the age of the person. Does the person have an underlying ailment, critical ailment? Does the person smoke? Does he engage in dangerous sports? etc. There are whole lots of criteria they will look into. So it's possible for two people, the same gender, the same age, but they might pay different premium because of their lifestyle and because of underlying ailments that may exist between the two parties. So having determined the sum assured and the premium payable, the contract of insurance, which is the insurance policy, will be issued by the insurance company. And once the premium is paid, the policy is effective and renewable, or you pay your premium each year as the anniversary of the policy comes up. There are various benefits of effective life policy. One and the basic simple benefit is that it gives you peace of mind. Peace of mind means that there's an insurance policy in place for you in case of the unforeseen. So that peace of mind itself is a form of benefit for you. Like you driving your car, you know that you have a comprehensive policy, so you're not all that scared that my car could be stolen or if somebody hits me, what happens? In addition, life insurance policy particularly also is a form of saving, especially where the premium you are paying is deducted from your paycheck or from your salary. So seamlessly, you are saving towards a particular objective. And the premium you are paying is also a form of tax rebate, in terms of calculating your tax that you pay to government. The premiums are often deducted as tax exempt. It can also be used to plan your estate. Last week, people were discussing about estate planning and management, and I think Mrs. Caribbean White also mentioned about life policy. Yes, it's a way you can use to plan for your estate, because when you have an estate behind and you are deceased, there's a lot of tax that goes into an estate. So the life policy can be used to clear up such tax so that your beneficiaries will not suffer in dipping their hands into the estate to pay the associated tax with the estate. So it's also a form of way of planning for estate. It's also a way of providing for your dependents when they are no more. Keep the money aside, the sum assured will be paid to your dependents, people that you name as beneficiaries in case they are no more alive. Okay. Now, talking about life policy in general is what I've explained. When it comes to special needs people or children with special needs, they are also entitled to all the spectrum of benefits that life insurance provides. However, because of the specific circumstances or nature of the special needs people, there is need to apply some care and discretion in handling the policies that protect the children of the special needs. And there are two ways you can effect policy for people with special needs. One, you can effect a policy on their life as the life insured, which means if they die, the benefit paid to probably their caregiver, their parents, or can be used to take care of another child if it's provided the child is up to the contract age, it's an adult, it's no more a minor, maybe above 18 or above 20 convictions. So it can cover the life of the specialist person. Okay? The specialist person can also take policy if the person is working, for example, on his life, on himself, for the benefit of his loved ones. But I believe what we are more concerned with here is the policy that the parents or the ward or the guardian provides for the benefit of those children, especially, which is the parent can take life policy and name the special need person as the beneficiary of the insurance policy. Which means if anything happens, say on death, the beneficiary will be the child with special needs. And you can do this in two ways. You can either establish a special trust fund on behalf of of the special child, whereby the benefit will be paid into the special trust fund. The reason for this is that so that there will be no tax implication or the child might not, lose out from other aids that he or she might be enjoying, say from the state, for example. For some jurisdictions, once you start, you have a policy that is paying you, the aid might reduce, that are giving you. So most people use the vehicle of creating a special trust fund where the insurance policy is paid into. So a parent can take up life policy, say for 5 years, for 10 years, or for life, that if I die, the benefit will be paid into a trust for the benefit of my special need child. I can also take out the educational policy. Depending on the age of my special child, I can plan for the primary, secondary, or even university tertiary education. If the child is say 5 years, I can say in the next 5 years, the child should be heading to the secondary school. So I can take out an educational life policy for 5 years, for example, whereby I'll be contributing. I don't have to die per se. At the end of the 5th year, the policy will become due, and they can pay me instrumental amount, which I can spread over the secondary school years of the child to pay for the school fees. I can even instruct the insurance company to pay directly to the school for the purposes of the child's school fees. That's one way of creating insurance policy to take care of the child. You can also take a life policy and name the caregiver, the person that takes care of the special needs child, as a beneficiary. Okay, provided there's a good understanding between you, the parent or the guardian, and the caregiver. And of course, you're assuming that the caregiver is going to outlive you. So you have to trust the person and be sure that such a person will use the proceeds of the life policy for the benefit of your child. So either you create a trust outrightly or you make the caretaker or it's somebody you trust that can take care of the child when you are no more as the beneficiary, or you can name the child outrightly as the beneficiary. You can also have multiple children on the policy. Not only one child, you can have two, three, four children covered as beneficiaries under a policy. Or you can take up, say for example, educational policy for more than one special child at a go. So these are some basic ways that we can provide life insurance support or policy for children with special needs. Maybe I should pause now for comments or questions.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Heath. I've learned quite a lot. I had questions when this topic came because each time I think of topic for the week, I'm wondering what is going on in the minds of the parents, of the caregivers. Why are we talking about life insurance? Am I thinking that I'm going to die? If I'm going to die, do I have to even die before my child can benefit from the life insurance, or if I'm a parent of a child with special needs? So there was something you mentioned that was like a wow aha moment for me when you said life educational life policy, where probably your child is 5 and you want to be able to, because the child has special needs and there might be financial demand because of the need of the child. Of course, we all know that it costs if it costs 100,000 naira to educate a neurotypical child, it's going to cost as much as 500,000 to educate a child with special needs. So a parent can decide to start planning ahead and saying, look, I'm going to take up an educational life policy for this child, so that by the time probably preschool is cheaper for you to that you can afford and pay off every month or every term. But thinking about the future, that the demand will get higher as the child gets older, you can begin to take an educational life. You can take an educational life policy to begin to plan for the child's probably primary school or secondary school fee without having to, and you don't necessarily have to die before you can access it. That's one thing that was like a wow moment for me. So thank you so much for that. I still have questions, and there's several questions that our audience will have for you. But let's quickly go to a parent of a child with special needs who also understand what life insurance is and would like to hear our own opinion, speaking from the perspective of a mother of a child with special needs who has an idea of what a life insurance is. So over to you, Damilola. Please, you need to unmute yourself right now so we can hear your beautiful voice.
Good afternoon, everybody, once again. I will speak as a parent, strictly as a parent, and where I'm not going to, so it's just how I would feel as a parent. So when I found out, so let me give you a background about myself a bit. The year before I found out my son was on the spectrum, I had lost my job. And we were just in a place whereby there was no income. Yeah. Unfortunately, it wasn't just me. My husband also lost his job. And the year after, we both got jobs, and that was the year I found out that my son was on the spectrum. Unfortunately, again, my friend died that year, that same month that I found out that my son was on the spectrum. And so, like, it was like a wave. Like, life just hits me. Like I'm like, okay. And he died with 2 boys. He had 2 beautiful boys. And, and I started to ask myself, what am I supposed to do? Where do I go from here? If something happens to me, what happens to my boy? How does he survive? How do we deal with his catering? He is different. Yeah. I've now realized he's different. And so what do I do about it? How do I put in structures that would cater to his school, not just his school, his well-being, his welfare? How do I
medical?
Do you understand? He's not. How do I understand? How do I know? How do I get somebody that will understand that I don't want my child taking antibiotics? Where do I put that kind of structure in place? That I don't want my child taking MSG. What's going to happen? What will I do in that situation? Who will follow my rules and regulations? The truth is that we all have parents. We have parents, we have siblings, but God forbid, we actually don't have any of these people around. With who will I put in place to help me? Who can I trust and trust my child to and say, look, God forbid something happens to me today. Well, we're not too young to die. Death is something that we need to embrace. And so what would happen to him at that point in time? What will I do about it? And luckily for me, I found a job in a trust company at that point in time. And so my thought process changed. My thought process became, I could set up a fund whereby I could put in money for this child and say, look, this money is specific for this child. This is what I want these monies to do. This is how I want it to be used. I could clear out rules and regulations. I could set out my thoughts, what I wanted for my child as though I were alive. And I struggled with insurance. I'm sorry, sir, I'm not saying that insurance is not good, but I did struggle with insurance in trying to understand how that will work for me as a parent. Because special needs is unique. My child is autistic. Yeah, he's on the autism spectrum. But if everybody knows the autistic spectrum, it's a huge spectrum. I'm lucky that he can speak. He only started writing this year. But there are other kids that can write, can't speak.
How old is he? Sorry, if I may ask. How old is your son? Right?
He's 5 years old now. He's 5 now.
5.
Yes. But funny enough, somebody was reminding me of something that happened about 3 years ago. And we were at my sister's house, and I just couldn't find him. And I really went panicky because he couldn't talk at that point in time. And I was like, oh my God, I was really in a very panic mode. And we have on children on the spectrum that I know so much about. There are children that cannot even speak at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What happens to those children? How do we cater for those children when we're not alive? Because while the parents right now, I cater to his needs. I'm there. I'm available. So I can say, no, don't give him that. No, don't do that. Don't do this. Don't do that. I am there. But what happens when I am not there? What happens then when his father is not there? What happens when people that know about him are not there? How do we structure this in such a way that we're comfortable? Because the truth is, you just don't know what would happen. We can't speak to it. We can't see anything. Now he can tell me, oh, my head is paining me, my tummy hurts, but that's because he can tell me. Will he tell you, Lola? I'm not so sure. Do you understand? I'm not so sure. So I need to put a structure in place right now and say, look, God forbid something happens to me. You guys, these are the things that he would need. This is what he would do. This is what he would likes, and detail it to the tiniest detail. Understanding how to put him, understanding that we have this something that you have to deal with. You can't pretend and act like it's not there. So if you have a special needs child also that maybe is blind, for example, yeah, it's something that you have to put into structure and say, look, this child would always need someone around him or her for the
To
rest of his
navigate.
life.
Yes.
To navigate, exactly. It's something that you need to accept, deal. It's not a challenge. I don't see it as a challenge. I see it as a blessing. Funny enough, my son has taught me so many things. Like he's taught me a lot of things. I've learned patience, for example. And so that, okay, this is not a challenge. So it's important for parents to look at this situation as not a challenge. Rather, they should look at it as, how can we structure it in such a way that when this child is not there, the child will survive. The child will not be left alone. The child will be okay financially. I won't have to worry about, oh, can I pay, if I die today, can I pay his school fees tomorrow? Because we need to remember, our siblings, our friends, they also have their own issues that they will have to pay for.
True.
They will have to sort those things out. You can't expect everybody to come up and say, oh, yes, because Damala died yesterday, I'm going to pick up my child's school fees. Nobody's going to do that, really. So you need to be, responsible. Let me use that word. Responsible for your child. Responsible for this blessing, I will call it, that God has given you. And see how to structure it in such a way that that child is comfortable. I will not shut down insurance. Insurance has its way of working. I would say sit down on every structure you can find. Ask questions. Look for what would what will make you happy, what you're comfortable with. You can have 5, 6, 7. I have insurance for my child. I have a trust for my child. I have everything possible for my child. Just to be sure that I've tied every button, locked every button, dotted every T, every I, just to be sure that I'm comfortable, and if I do die tomorrow, he's okay. Yes. So
can I ask you a question, Damilola? Thank you for that. I like your position. Like, all I'm doing is to ensure that if I close my eye today, my child will be okay. And that's what led to the topic we had today and last week. So that, look, we need to plan. What are the various ways we can plan? Estate planning and administration, a will, insurance, trust. How do we go about it? So you said you have insurance, you have trust. What kind of insurance? Because there are parents out there who are thinking, oh, she has insurance, oh, she has trust. How much does she earn? How do we go about it? And what kind of insurance? Thankfully, Dr. Hita said the one that for me, because most times the person that goes, once a parent dies of a child with special needs, the first thing that goes up the list, priority list, is intervention, educational support for that child. I mean, that's not the first thing that goes up. We're thinking of who will take care of this child, who will feed this child. What are those license structure? What kind of insurance have you put in place so that other parents might want to pick from your idea, and we don't want to know how much. I mean, it should not be polite for us to say, so how much do you put?
I can speak about figures. I can just speak about figures. Don't worry about that. Okay, so the thing is, for insurance, I only did education. I did do education insurance. However, for trust, because trust is such a structure that it's bespoke, right? It's not Damala's trust that Lola has to take, right? They would sit with Damilola and talk to Damilola and say, Damilola, what do you want? And so I set up my trust based on what I wanted for my son and for his sibling. So it's not one, it's not a singular trust, it's a trust that encompasses both of them, but it also has details, specific details for him. Now,
Okay,
one thing I
hold on, Damilola. Can I say something? I want us to talk about the topic of trust probably next week or another time. But let's focus
yeah,
on insurance right now. Can you just break it down to us? The kind of insurance you said you took educational insurance.
I took
Is it a
education insurance.
long-term one? Is it a short-term one? How
I
does
took
it work from your own
okay, so
experience?
for me, I'm hoping that my kid will go abroad after a while. So I took an insurance till his secondary school, and so he's in primary one now. So I took an insurance till he gets to secondary school, and so that's how many years? I did 15 years. I did 15 years as of then, and I said, okay, do you know what? After 15 years, we will get the payout for him, and so I'm paying him
How does
money
that
monthly.
work? So a parent is listening to you and say, "Oh, she did 15. I want to do 15 years." How does it work? The A to Z of it. Could you walk us through it,
So
please?
I know, so you're allowed, because I can't mention companies, so I'm trying to be
Yeah.
very careful and not give you their
And
information.
really and truly, you listen. In as much as this is not like a commercial platform, we are also who want you if you got value from them, please feel free so as parents could also think because they're asking like last week they're asking us what give us examples of insurance we could go to, you know. But you can tell us the one you are.
I can list names of insurance companies. I will do
Okay.
a
But
list,
how does it
right?
work? How does it work? Yes.
So
Go ahead, list
when
names for us and how does it work?
okay. When I
We
sat down
want
with
you
them,
to.
when I sat down with them and explained to them what I wanted, what I did was I said, look, I have a boy on the spectrum that I just found out that he's on the spectrum, right? These are the challenges that he has. These are the things that he can do and the things that he cannot do. However, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about the things that he can do. What I want is, if I do die tomorrow, I want his education to be covered, at least his education to be covered. And what they
To
said
secondary
was
school level.
secondary school
To
level, yes.
secondary school level, yeah.
Yes, secondary school level. And they asked me what school does he go to. And I explained what school that he goes to. So we factored in, so these are the things that we factored in. His school fees, his therapy fees that he gets from school, his extra therapy fees because he does two therapies. So I covered his school, first therapy in school, second therapy in school. Yeah. And I also what I did was I also looked at it at inflation rates, just in case his school fees, goes higher by another maybe 10 or 20%. I factored that into it. And so it's quite on a high side. But the thing for me was I was looking at the fear of not having anything at all. And like I said, I had lost my job before. I knew what it was like not to have a job and a child not go to school at a certain time. And so I said, I didn't want that to happen. So these are the things that we considered into it. And we came into how we're going to get a payment every month on that figure that I had considered I was going to insure for. So I do pay monthly based on the figure I'm trying to get at. And yeah, that's just it.
Okay, and that's for a 15-year. When can you access that for your child? Until the child, at what age?
So there are different. I know there are different points. I know I can access at I think I can access at 7.5, at 10, and at 15 years. Yeah. So there are three times I can access: 7.5, 10 years, and at 15. But I
Okay,
can also
so
access
based
if
on
anything
what?
happens tomorrow. If anything happens to me, they can access the funds.
Okay, and that's where I was going to. So based on what Dr. Heath had explained to all the insurance company, one, and the policy owner. So
Yes.
using this that they explained to all the insurance company, you add an insurance company, you sat down,
Yes.
sort of what you wanted when actually education for your child. You add the
Mm-hmm.
company, the policy
Mm-hmm.
owner. So who will be the policy owner in this case?
I'm the policy owner.
Fantastic.
He's the
Then who is the insured in this case?
He's the insured. He's the insured and the beneficiary.
Fantastic. Then and also the beneficiary. Fantastic. I just wanted to put this
Am
out
I
there because
right?
a lot of parents
Am I right?
Dr. Heath, is she right?
Yeah, she is. However, she's both the insured and the policy owner. Yeah,
Okay.
so your child is the beneficiary. Yeah,
Okay.
the insured means that you are the life insured. The insurance company is taking on your life. So if anything
Okay.
happens to you, will be paid. This is the
Oh,
beneficiary.
right.
This is the
Okay.
policy
Yes, I'm
owner.
learning. See, we're all learning.
God.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
one
Oh,
thing she
wow. You see
mentioned.
why we need to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one thing she
Thank you.
mentioned, which
Go
I
on,
like
Dr. Hits.
the fact that she spoke about having a bespoke plan for herself. Yes, because there's no two, special nature that are the same. Okay, you have
Yes.
to have a
Yes. And I have
customized
question on that too.
program, and the starting point
True.
is what we call financial planning and analysis, and you
Yes.
have to be honest with yourself at that point in time. It
Exactly.
is not a wishful plan; it is a reality plan, not a wishful plan. Not that I want my child to go to Harvard when you know that your salary cannot be,
True.
So you have
True.
to
Very,
think to yourself, this
very
is the
true.
type of schooling or lifestyle I can afford for my child. This is what
Yes.
I'm currently earning. This is what I think I can afford, to be
Mm-hmm.
dropping every month, every quarter, every year towards
Mm-hmm.
this education. Of course, she did go to a factor
Fantastic.
in some other issues like the therapy, the special food he eats, if any, the special
Mm-hmm.
care that he takes, if there's a special wheelchair or whatever that the child uses, you factor in all those things and come up with what we call your own sum assured. Okay,
Yeah.
the amount you want to be paid
Some is
at that future, future date in time. And that of policy she has taken has, instrumental benefit payment after specific period of time, like say 7.5 years or maybe 15 years and 12.5 years, etc. However, if anything happens to her in between, the company will still pay 100% of the sum assured, irrespective of the fact that she has collected some installments in between the years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Please
Yeah.
explain that again. That sounds a
Okay.
bit.
Okay.
Please
Assuming she
explain that
pays,
again. So, for
assuming
example, assuming, let me give myself as an example.
yes,
Assuming the insured sum, I'm looking at probably maybe 100 million, for example. And we're going to go back because we have different kind of parents here. And I've said, okay, every year, or every quarter, or every month, I'll be putting down. I don't know how much that will amount to. Are you saying that if anything happens in between, the amount that'll be given to me will be that 100 million, or what?
yes, exactly.
Give,
But I'm saying that
really?
I'm saying in addition to that, the type of policy she has taken pays out some level of benefit. Typically, maybe in the first 5 years, they can say, I'll give you 25% of that 100 million, which is 25 million
Mhm.
naira. In the next 10 years, I'll give you, another 25%, which is 25 million. You've already 50% already. God forbid, in the 11th year, something happens, the person is no more. The insurance company will still pay you 100 million.
Wow.
Irrespective of the fact
Wow.
that you
How does that
collected.
work? I know you said that the concept of insurance is for both those that can afford and those that cannot afford, so that the ones who cannot afford benefit. How does that add up? I'm just curious.
Exactly.
Okay, insurance has two elements. You have the savings and you have what we call the protection, which is the pure life. Okay, most educational policies combine both savings and protection. Okay, and once you contribute, some funds will go into savings that should earn some interest, while some will go into your protection part that buys the death cover, the mortality cover for you. Okay, so there are basic plans that only pays out at the end of the duration. You can use, for example, a term policy for that. Say if anything happens to you, in 10 years, whole life. But if you want a customized, educational policy that will pay out something your lifetime, okay, and still pays out, if God forbid there is a premise before the maturity of the policy, that policy will still pay you 100% of your sum insured you have paid, irrespective of the fact that you collected some, advance payments before the maturity. That's where the pool of risk comes in. Okay? Because if you calculate properly, that Lola, the amount you are paying, if
Mm.
you sit down maybe after this show, multiply it, okay? As if you are
Mm-hmm.
paying 1,000 naira every month, I'm just saying, multiply it for that 15 years, you will see that the total amount will be equivalent almost to the sum assured you have to be paid.
Mm. I would try that.
Try it, you see, it will
Wow,
be,
that's interesting. It's good to know. You
yes,
know,
it will be
I was
almost,
going to put myself like a case. Go on.
yes, it will be
Go on,
almost
sir.
same thing. Okay. And now remember, they are going to invest the money. So when they invest the money, they earn interest. Okay. So
Oh.
that gives you some additional differential amount that will be a little bit higher than your total contribution. From the amount you are paying, like I said earlier on, part will be taken to buy mortality risk for you, that in case anything happens before then. And that mortality risk, insurance companies, they have what we call reserve funds for different classes of risk. They also have what we call retrocession. That means insurance of the insurance companies. As you go to insurance company to insure your life, the insurance company also go to reinsurance companies to insure their own risk they've collected from all of us. So, Lola, it can look funny that how come they are able to still pay? No, because they also have bought insurance on that your contribution. And if anything happens to Lola, they are going to pay me, the insurance company, this amount on Lola's life. The insurance company, they use some amount of her contribution to protect the life cover for her. They will invest some to yield additional interest for her. Okay, so it's a win-win situation. That's why I say typically your total contribution will almost be equal to your total benefit at the end. So there's really no free lunch for that type of policy you're taking. There's really no free lunch. You're saving towards it.
Interesting. This is so good to know. We just sit down there like, oh, how does it work? And I've had in time past, I've had a nasty experience with insurance company when I insured my car. So I'm like, I'm not sure what these people are doing. But then I remember, like I think I said last week during the show, when I was schooling in the US and I had to insure my car, and that was another question I had really. But for me, it was a good experience, so to say, because throughout the time, first and foremost, I have this question. I'm going to relate to what I'm asking. So when I did my drive, because before you can drive, of course, we know that in developed countries you have to pass your driving test, and that will determine from the driving test you take it to the insurance, whatever results you get. You take it to the insurance company to get insurance for your car, third party insurance. So I remember my instructor said to me that, look, the way you're driving, my age, normally the younger, the youth, anyone from 18 and about, the insurance that they pay for car insurance are always higher because they tend to, because of the useful exuberance, they tend to engage in accidents and all of that. And that'll be very expensive for the insurance company. But my case was that there were some things they saw about me and said, look, we're not going to put you on the high insurance. I mean, you're not going to pay so much. But then I was paying as much as $250 every month. That was a lot for me as a student. And then I spoke to someone, and the reason was simply because my instructor was like, oh, you were not looking at, I was supposed to be looking at my rear mirror at certain times, because if I don't look well and if I trafficate and I just decide to turn, then the person coming, the driver behind me could slam into me and all of that. That was the major reason my insurance was high. I had other people who did the same test with me, almost like, and they had like $25 insurance, they were paying $50 and less than I was paying. So I was wondering, I had this question in my mind. I spoke with them and said, you know what, you could question it. You could actually let them know you've been driving in Nigeria. If you can produce your certificate, your driver's license. So I did that, and it crashed really, because probably the judgment of the person was not right, so to say. It crashed. But then what happened to me was I never had any accident all through, but a month to no, my insurance now expired. So my question was that, all that money I paid, what happened to it? Do you understand? And then just a month, my insurance expired. I was about to leave the country, so I didn't want to continue anymore, because I felt I stayed those long, almost 2-3 years without having to experience that. And then now I'm leaving. There's no need. Guess what? The month I was to pay, and luckily for me, I had like a month free, whatever benefit and all that. 2 days to the end of that benefit, I had a little issue that I needed the insurance company, and they came through for me. Not the fact that my term had expired, but I had this 1 month or something grace. I don't know what it's called, but that's just my own case with what I experienced. But I'm thinking, for parents of children, look at my case now. I was paying $250. I don't know how the calculation, but based on what I said to you, is there any, oh, Dr. Heat is no more here, and that was the question I had for him. Is there an age, or is there any kind of disability that cannot be covered under insurance? Is there a difference between a person who has, so for example, if I had a child with autism and I had a child probably with hearing impairment, and probably the need of the child with autism is much more than the need of that child with who is deaf, for example, how will that be? How will that be calculated based on what Damilola sat down to discuss with the insurance company? Would I be paying more, or is it based on what I want for my child? And is there any case where, because I know that they will ask a lot of questions, and something they look at, just like my own kid, I say, look, you are a person, a driver who is caused a lot of damages, or a risky, so to say, driver, so you have to pay more money. Is there like, do they really look at and say, oh, a child with autism will pay more than a parent with a child with autism will pay more life insurance or whatever insurance than a parent with a child with probably just a speech impairment, or a child with who is not speaking or something? Is there a way that is calculated, or is there a child that is not insurable based on probably this child is living with a particular disability that there's no, so to say, looking at the long term, say, we are not sure what the outcome will be? Is there anything, or any, you need to use the word discrimination against that?
Okay.
And also one more thing, I'm just trying to put all of this together.
Okay.
What if I cannot even afford? What are the various kind of amounts that can be insured, so to say? I'm not using the right term because I'm not a professional in that aspect. But what how do I say it? Damilola sat down and said what she wanted. I want, but I don't have what would give me what she wants. But how much, what is the least amount, or what are the various amount that I could put down to ensure that my child gets education?
Okay. Before I answer that, let me just make one comment on your motto policy vis-a-vis insurance industry in Nigeria. Yeah, one of the major challenges of the insurance industry in Nigeria is the fact that there's issue of trust between insurance companies and the populace. People don't still believe, in insurance, and also there's also low level of awareness. So there are two things: there's low level of awareness, and even the few people that are aware about insurance, they don't have the trust. They don't believe that insurance works. But I can say categorically today that insurance has gone through, its own developmental stage. Insurance industry in Nigeria today, you know, I can beat my chest and say that 80 to 90% of the companies will pay your claim seamlessly, your journey claims seamlessly, no matter the type of or class of insurance you've taken. So having said that, back to your question. When I started, I told you that there's a process called underwriting
Okay.
that insurance companies go through in determining whether to accept a life, and if so, at what rate or terms and conditions they will accept that life. Okay, that process is called underwriting, and it
Okay.
applies to every life, whether a special a child or a non-special child. Okay. However, like I also mentioned earlier, for a special child, they are special. So their case need to be treated specially as well. Okay. So ideally, if you are taking the policy on their life, that is when it becomes a bit, technical or complex. That is if they are the life insured. Okay.
Okay.
Maybe Damilola is the policy owner, okay, taking up the life policy, but on the life of a special child, for
Child.
example. So a special child is now the life insured, which means
Okay.
the benefit becomes payable if an event happens on the special life. Okay? Now, that is where that issue you talked about becomes predominant. The insurance company will now look at the special peculiar circumstances of that special child. Is it autism? Is it physical disability? What exactly it is, and what is that level, okay, for that child, to determine what premium they will charge on the life of that child. Okay, in Nigeria, I don't think there are companies that have gotten to that level of specialization, for children with special life. However, abroad, companies have departments or units for special children, for special, people for the insurances. They have dedicated units that handles such insurances. And what they would do, for example, for autism, they will look at the level of functionality of that child.
Of the child, yes.
Okay? Yeah. Is it, very high? For example, if the level of functionality is high, they can attribute that child's IQ to say 75% of a normal person's IQ. Okay? If the functionality is average, they can attribute the IQ to say 50 to 75%. If it is, below average, they can attribute the IQ to maybe 25% to 50% of a normal child. So based on that, they will now calculate, they will determine the risk the child could be exposed to, maybe while driving or blah, 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 and they will determine the rate they are going to use for that child. That rate will determine the level of cover they can give that child for a given amount of premium. So if the child's functionality is, high, the child will likely pay lower premium than the child whose functionality is lower, even for the same level of cover. Okay. Yes. Okay. So typically, that is the way it works. But like I said earlier on, they will not reject a child. No child will be rejected, though. But it's just that the level of cover, the premium payment will differ. But like I said, the majority of the issue we are discussing now is providing the support for the child. Which means the parent here is the policy provider, policy owner, and the life insured for the benefit of the child.
Sure.
So the issue of discrimination in quotes will not really come in. What that process will now be used for is to determine the level of cover, like that in Lola's case, to say my child needs this type of help, he or she needs this, needs that, needs this. These are the likely costs of providing all this type of food or blah 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 blah. That will only come in to determine the sum insured, the value that she wants to put aside for the child's education or for the child's benefit. Okay, as against determining whether the child will be insured or not. The life insured is the parent or the guardian, etc. So that's where the difference comes in. Then regarding the amount you can insure, typically there is no limit to life insurance. Unlike your motor vehicle, the limit is the value of the car. Okay? But for life, there's no limit to life. I can value my life, yes, the amount of value I place on my life will differ from yours. Okay. However, because you cannot just put indiscriminate amount on your life, you can now use some level of criteria, maybe your financial income, to determine the amount of value we can place in quote on that life, even though that will not compensate for the emotional or psychological value that the life will place on him or herself. Okay, for purposes of financial planning and insurance, we can use the income of the life of the policyholder or the life insured to determine the amount of policy that we can put in place for the child. And most insurance companies, typically they might say on the average, maybe 5,000 naira as premium.
Again, can you say that again?
Maybe 5,000 naira.
5,000 naira.
Yes, as premium, you can be paying, for a policy, for a cover. Okay, because again, the premium you are paying should also be enough to cover the basic administrative and documentation of the insurance company. Okay, any amount below that, except it's a group, maybe you have plenty people in that group. Of course, we have group life cover as well. Whereby probably parents with similar child condition can come together and take up a life policy, a group life policy. Okay, that amount could come down further because there are a large number of people coming together to take up a similar policy. So the amount differs from company to company, but on the average, the 5,000 naira premium, I don't think most companies might go below that. That could be, I don't say, I don't think most might go below 5,000.
While you were speaking, I had to quickly reach out for my phone because I remember last week you talked about this, and Mr. Karibo actually sent me something about, and I did check that out. So there were a particular insurance company where the premium is 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. But I think I understand what you're trying to say. Maybe it's like a group kind of insurance because some of them have their sum insured to be as little as 100,000 naira, 200,000, and then it just keeps going that way. So I needed to just say that out because I'm also speaking for those parents who are just because we know that disability or special needs comes across different socioeconomic background. We have market women who are selling fish, pepper, and they have children with special needs, and they're thinking, what is the basic I can do for my child? I know I mean, they might not be able to afford 5,000 naira. So it's quite encouraging, it's quite comforting to see that there's some organizations where you can actually insure, the sum insured can be as little as 100,000, and your premium can be as little as 1,000, 2,000, which for me is quite encouraging because if I can actually insure 100,000, I don't know how long that is. I mean, I know you said that different plans, 5 years, 10 years, and all of that, because I am very sure because I met some parents really and truly, even the 1,000 naira as a premium is quite high for them. So it's quite encouraging to hear that there could be a group kind of um I'm sorry, insurance plan where you can go as low as 1,000 and 2,000 naira. Please, we would like to go on a short, quick break right now so that we can all catch our breath. Please do not leave. Do not leave. Get a cup of water, drink water. I need to drink water right now. So drink water, stretch your legs, and then we'll come back so that we can answer questions. If our audience have any questions for Dr. Harry, I know I caught you for a bit because I needed to put that out because it was an information that was shared with us, and I was told to please share with our audience in case they can't afford 5,000. There's some insurance company who can go as low as 1,000 and 2,000. And I'm going to come to question because even if I have 1,000, how do I go about it? For goodness sake, I know that Devlin has walked us through our own. What does it mean when you say sum insured? How long will this 100,000 naira or the 200,000 last for? How much do I pay per premium? So we'll go on a break and then we'll be right back. Please stay with us. I'll be right back. Thank you.
Dyslexia, he give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. Buckets, he won't give up, no, cause he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. Dyslexia, he give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.
Wow, I was dancing to that song. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. So like I was saying earlier before we went on the break, thank you so much, Lola. You walked us through the whole process and it felt really practical because we hear things and we're wondering, who do I go to? How do I go about it? How much do I earn? I can't afford this, but like there were options you said, and that was your own, yours was peculiar to you. And Dr. Heat also let us understand that, look, it doesn't have to be the different ways you could go about it or different amount. And what was most soothing, I said it, more comforting for me was the fact that you can have the educational life insurance. Woo! Because that's always the issue. Once the parent goes, there's no more education, and we all know, I totally believe that education is a gateway to eradicate any form of poverty. So even with children with special needs, education will help them live an independent adult life to the best of their ability. They always need to be scaffolded. They always need help. So we can't keep saying. I remember I was at a conference, the Autism conference. I've always been there for the past 3 or 4 years, and every year this same question keeps coming up. And some of these people that stand up to ask question are women that are probably market women or that have low from low socioeconomic background, they keep saying, what happens to me when my child is gone? What's going to happen to my child? And I know the question is, how will my child continue schooling? How would my child continue therapy? And that's simply the question. They're not asking for anything, just how does my child continue? And for me, the fact that life insurance is not all about when I die, that's when the child can get the money. No, there's something called, did I get it? Education life insurance or life education insurance? Dr. Heath, what's it called? Your microphone is muted, Dr. Heath.
You're right. Educational life policy. But
Yes,
let me just make one clarification.
Yes,
when you asked me that question, I was, referring specifically to educational life policies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said earlier, there are different types of policies you can take. There's term policy, there's whole life, etc. Okay. And for ordinary term policy, of course, you can get a policy that can pay as low as 1,000 naira. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that is pure life policy. That's term policy or whole life policy that you pay. Okay. For say a sum assured of say 100,000 naira if anything happens. Because typically the premium for term policy or life typically is about 1 to 1.5% of whatever sum assured we are going to take. But when talking about educational policy for children with special care, you agree with me that even 60,000 naira per annum might not really, which is 5,000 naira, as I said, might not really be sufficient to cater for the child. Okay? However, like you rightly said, the market woman on the street there might not be able to afford that. So she can go for the normal term policy or whole life policy where she can contribute 1,000 per month or 1,500 per month to provide a smaller amount, or just something that in case I'm home at least, I know I've left something for my work. So of course we can get life policies now, as cheap as 1,000 naira, 1,500 naira per month.
How often can an individual access that fund if it's a life policy? I know for the educational one, you have a say because you are the one, you know what you want. But for life policy that is lower, how often, I know you said the term of 5 years, 10 years, and all of that. But for life policy which is lower, how soon or how often can one access the sum assured?
For life policy, you can only assess the sum assured at the expiration of the term. That's why it's called term. If something happened, and that's if something happens to the life policy owner. So if you take a
when
term
something happens, I mean, it depends of the person or what?
Yes, if the person dies or whatever. Okay, so you can see why it's a bit. You can do 1,000. Depends on how much you want to provide for the person. So if you take it for 5 years, for example, it only pays out. If something happens to you, within that 5 years period. If anything happens after 5 years, nothing will be paid. Okay, except it's a whole life policy, which means the policy you took throughout your lifetime or to age 65, and the policy will pay out anytime.
So what's in place for that market woman? Because really, I'm thinking, okay, I could probably play smart one. I would insure for the life what do you call it now? The life policy, yeah, the one you just explained just now.
Yes.
And I say, okay, let me do every 5 years or something. Is it possible to say, okay, I want to take that, but I'll do for 5 years. When it expires, I'll take another 5 years, or I'll do 1 year and expire. How flexible can that be also?
For the term, we can renew at the expiration of every 5 years, okay? But like I said, it only covers death, okay? However, there's what we call annuity.
Okay, what's that? Please explain.
From an insurance company, annuity is just a stream of regular income, okay? You can buy an annuity certain or annuity that will pay throughout life. Annuity certain means that if you take annuity, I want my annuity to start paying me, deferred annuity to start paying me at 5 years time or in 10 years time. I can buy a deferred annuity, maybe certain for 5 years, which means my 10 years annuity will become payable in 10 years time, and it will pay me for 5 years. Okay, it can also be an annuity that will pay me throughout life. So what that does is that monthly you contribute some money into the annuity fund, okay, for 5 years or for 10 years, depending on the number of years you want to contribute, depending on what level of education your child is. And the company will start paying you after that 10 years they can pay for the next 5 years. They'll pay you a guaranteed annuity income. You know,
And that doesn't
that
have to do with death, like until the person's death. It
no,
doesn't
no,
have
no,
to
no,
do.
doesn't have to
I
do
like
with that.
to. Can you
Doesn't-
explain that better, please? I really want to go to, because the essence of this is, how do we get educational help or support for this child, even when I'm still alive, but because I can't really afford, or I know the topic for this life insurance, because I wasn't too clear as to, but the question is, how do we ensure that the support for that child with special needs, irrespective of my social economic background, and without me really having to die before they can access the fund?
Yes, the annuity is there. There's also what you call endowment. There's an
Okay.
endowment policy you can also take that pays after the period of time you take it. You can take endowment for 10 years. Okay. After 10 years, you access while you're alive. Okay. You access the sum you insured for that period. Okay. So yes, but we're talking specifically on special need child, and we all know that special need child, it's more involving financially than. But that also I said that type of educational policy that you might want might really be 5,000 and above that you can that will bring some visibility to what we're talking about. Okay, of course, the other options you can take. I mean, people normally say not having at all is worse. At least, like you already said, that they are alone there. Let them have something at least they can. If they have the discipline to be putting it up there, even this 1,000 naira, like you mentioned, so they can take endowment policy. They can purchase an annuity which they will contribute to for certain number of years and pay their stream of income regularly, either the rest of their life or at an agreed number of years thereafter. So that can be put in place for them. But above all, really, uh, in more advanced countries, the states have robust system taking care of children
True.
generally,
Yes.
special needs particularly. Okay, so it's just unfortunate that this part of the world that
Okay.
Nigeria, signed on the Discrimination Act last year. The president signed it,
Yes.
you know, early last year, and up till now, they've not started implementing the provisions of that law. Not to establish, a commission for special needs people that will take care of them. They're supposed to have some things to put in place. You have to have,
Yes.
schools, free education for them. Public buildings have to be compliant,
Yes.
with them.
Yes.
All those things have not been enforced. So part of the challenges we have in Nigeria are number one, lack of resources. Two, the legal framework to enforce the
Yes.
provisions of the law is not there. Three, we also still have the problem of custom and ethnicity. Custom people have special needs.
Yes. Cultural belief and all
That's
that. Yes.
it is there. Okay, so this thing still comes to bear in this part of the world. And whether in the advanced countries, they are used to this. Their system, makes provision for this. In Canada, for example, people that work and help, special needs children, they are given special allowances,
Benefits for them.
benefits by the government, workers that work, whether you're working voluntarily, whatever, they give them special, allowances by government. Government provides for the families of so the parents. We give them allowances depending on the number of child, depending on their financial status in the economy. Government gives them grants. They encourage them. So all these things are in place over there. But here, unfortunately, we don't have them. We don't, and that is sad. Apart from the few NGOs that are trying to do stuff in the United Nations, World Bank, etc., the government itself has not done much, to provide support in that area. In America, for example, they have individualized education programs. So it's not enough for you to have inclusive school like we have in Nigeria or non-inclusive school where they attend. You need to have a program like Deborah rightly said. Every child has a customized, circumstances. You have to
True.
have an individualized educational plan tailored to each.
So that just simply means every sector must actually have an IEP for every person with disability. It doesn't have to be for education, and they must be an individualized plan when it comes to this. When it comes to insurance company, banking, every sector must consider that individual with special needs.
Yes, for example, in the act I've just talked about, part of the provision of the act is that 5% of workers, public service workers, must be employed, must be dedicated to,
True. Yes,
to
that's
special
what it says. Yes.
needs there. Okay, and likewise, banks and other companies they have They must not discriminate against the employment, but who enforces all these things? Government could create a special fund that just like you have for the tertiary education fund, TEF, or petroleum tax fund. You can create special people, special post fund, and tax a certain percentage, of corporate, profit. Each year they must contribute to this point something percent of your profit after tax should go to this fund, especially dedicated to providing education for children with special needs.
We have a lot of work to do, but we will not keep quiet. We will not keep quiet. The more we speak about it, the more we begin to find a pathway to enable individuals with special needs and disability to access what is meant to be theirs. I mean, it's their rights, And for the parents who are listening, we've seen different options because really and truly, we have to say that we are truly our own government. Anyway, last week, Mr. Pepper White, Caribbean White was saying something about, the least it could do for parents of individual special needs is to have them stop paying tax because what are the benefits? What is the benefit for me paying tax when I have a child that I'm actually catering for all of what the tax should be taken care of, So, Damilola, I know that you said your own story and how it works for you. What words you have for parents who have children with special needs? You have experienced what it felt like not having a job. Your husband had, and you know how it was. What advice would you have for that parent from a local income family who is thinking, even the least I can have, what is that little thing I can put in place just in case I close my eye today? And what can I do for my child? What practical tip would you have for that parent when it comes to probably, yes.
So like Dr. Heath said, the first thing is to be honest with yourself. It's very important you do a self-realization and like I said, be responsible for yourself first of all. You can't look at Danola or Lola or Dr. Heath and say you're going to use our lifestyle and judge and do how we do our things with your child. You have to also take into consideration that and when you have more than one child, that is on the spectrum, or even if you don't have any other child that is a special needs child, when you have one child on the spectrum and another sibling there, you have to cater for both children.
Sure.
You can't ignore one and leave the other. So the best thing to do is sit down with yourself. Look at your income, what you're getting, first of all. Cut down what you can actually cut down. To be honest, cut down what you can actually cut down. When you realize what you can actually cut down, look at that income and say, okay, let's say I earn what's the
50,000.
25,000 exactly. And the truth is that nobody can actually, it's difficult surviving on 35,000 naira. Let me know even lie. It's very less with each other. But the truth is, you can look at it and say 35,000 naira. I have these amounts of bills to pay, right? This is it. Let's say my bills every month are worst case scenario, 20,000 naira or even 25,000 naira every month. You have an extra 10,000 naira that you have something to do with. Out of that 10,000 naira, the only amount you can keep out of it is 1,000 naira. And I'm trying to be as practical as possible, or even possible maybe 500 naira, right? That 500 naira, what you can do is keep that 500 naira every month. It's tiny. It doesn't make any sense at all. But keep that 500 naira every month. When you get to a point whereby, okay, money is now, let's say 5,000 naira, after you keep the 500 naira, approach any small insurance company, anybody, approach anyone, speak to someone, to explain to them what you have, how you plan to do this, where you're coming from. Don't wait for a millionaire, 2 millionaire, 3 millionaire. When I got my job, I had to take a pay cut. So for me, it was even very tough, because I had to take a pay cut and I had to pay a child therapy that was costing me 250K a month. So of course a lot of things had to, we had to come back to the drawing board and say, okay, how do we start this all over again? I didn't start my insurance immediately. I didn't start everything immediately. I took my time. I looked at, okay, this is what I can cut off.
this is what I cannot cut off because the child has to eat. I have to eat also. Also, if not, then there's nothing that we're doing. You know, sit down and be practical with yourself on what you can afford. When you do that, then you're able to build from there. But I would say one thing: don't wait till you have $1 million, 200,000. Don't. The truth is that we don't know when we will die. And let us be honest with each other. It's not even necessarily death. God forbid you step out of your house and have an accident. Like, as in, like, are you joking? It's not possible. I'm a strong Christian, and God forbid I will not die. But I'm honest. I'm very honest with myself. I'm very honest with myself and say, God forbid, when this happened, what would I have left for this boy?
True. God forbid it's not a plan, like someone said. What plans do you have?
What plan?
Wow.
What plans? So let's sit back, please. Let's take time out. You know, when the children have gone to bed, then after that you can cry. And when you look at your salary, you can cry after that time. When they've gone to bed, please, take time out. Cry if you need to cry, and be real with yourself.
True.
Be very real with yourself. That's what I was saying.
Thank you so much, Lola. One last question for Dr. Heath, and then we'll call it a day today. So now I've been real with myself, and I know it's 500 naira and 1,000, probably 1,000 naira or 1,500. Now back to Dr. Heath. I have this 1,000 naira. I have this 500 naira. What question should I be asking the insurance company? What kind of insurance company should I be looking out for? I mean, you can mention it if you want, but what questions to empower myself? Now I have the money. How does this thing work? What are the questions I should ask? How often do I have to pay? At what time would I, what questions should such parents be asking?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I will advise a parent to get the service of an insurance broker or an agent. But they are like intermediaries, and they know the insurance companies and the products they have available. They will also advise the parent on the type of various options that they can tap into. But having said that, like I said earlier, the parent first and foremost need to do an honest and realistic financial planning and analysis of their own peculiar circumstances to be sure that even this 500 naira, this 1,000 naira, can I afford to be putting it aside every month? Okay? But the most important thing is not doing anything at all. Insurance cannot work. You can put it in savings, like she said. You can put 500 naira in savings every month. But of course, there are the form of policy that you can have. Even this 100,000 naira sum insured cover for you, for example, I can be paying less than 1,000 naira or less for. You can start with that. Okay? You can start with that. Because for 100,000 naira sum insured, you can have a term policy that can pay a little bit less than 1,000 naira or 1,000 naira. So, but the discipline that's the most important thing. Discipline to put aside an amount, no matter how small. Discipline to do your financial planning and objective analysis of your situation, and seek the advice and support of an insurance broker who are the experts in this area.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you. For me, I've learned quite a lot, and I'm sure that a lot of parents there, a lot of our audience have taken something away. And I also believe that it's not just for children with special needs. There are a lot of parents out there without children with special needs who do not have any plan at all for their children. God forbid is not a plan. We need to plan for these children's future. I say jokingly, these children do not ask to be born. So if you say, okay, I've had them, when I die, they'll be fine. No. Think ahead, particularly for children with special. Last week, Barrister was saying people like are these one's children? They are first individuals before the special needs. So every right that a child without special needs access, they also they are entitled to it and much more. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be planning for my child without special needs, you're thinking twice or three times more about the child with special needs, irrespective of your income. It doesn't have to be in millions or thousands. Do something for that child's future. Thank you so much, Damilola, for being so true and for laying it out there for us. Dr. Heath, how can I thank you? You were actually the professor emeritus here, telling us how this should be done, and we truly appreciate you. I
Thank
know
you.
we'll be back again. We'll be back on this issue. There's so much on issue of legal
Thank
guidance, and so much on even the issue of trust fund. What and that's the question. We are tired of saying all will be well. God forbid. What plans we have for these children for real? Really, let's talk about it and let's look at those things on the dark and let them put it in the light and see how. Because I didn't even know. For example, I didn't know that there's something I could do that would earn you. I mean, you could actually put 1,000 naira aside. 100,000 is no small money. Really, now I was saying to lately, I was thinking that this plan I did like every month, I just put down 1,000. There's this automatic club. It's something small I just thought to do. Every month you put down 1,000 naira, and then before you know it, you're like every day actually. And before you know it, I'm like, really, am I this rich? I mean, there's something soothing about knowing that you're actually saving, I know that you're just only saving, you're saving for the future of your child. How soothing and how comforting will that be? So thank you so much, really. Thank you, Damilola. Thank you, Dr. Heat. I hope we will call on you again on matters like this to oblige us your presence. Thank you. Really appreciate
you.
you.
It's a pleasure.
Miss,
Thank you very
thank you so
much.
much.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
God
Bye
bless
Thank
you.
bye.
you. Mr.
And keep
Alex,
up the
thank
good
you
work.
also. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye.
Dyslexa. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way. Casey never liked school much. All the kids would laugh when he read in class. Teachers tried to help him out, but they didn't know what to do, so they just let it pass. Sometimes he wanted to scream out loud, hide his head in the sound of the clouds. Dyslexa. He give anything to make it go away, even though he knows it's here to stay. But Casey won't give up, no, cause you know he's way too tough. He's gonna do whatever it takes. He's gonna find a way.